Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Castle Keeper Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is going to be a continuation of the character class spotlights for Castles and Crusades. This has been a long-going series for this channel. I've been averaging one every week, but now that the core races of Castles and Crusades have been covered, I'll be doing I'll be finishing out the next 5 weeks or so with just character classes. So I have Rogue, and then this will be followed up by Wizard, and those are the initial core classes that are coming out of the Player's Handbook, and then I have 7 more classes to cover that are basically subclasses of the others, and that will be found in the Adventures backpack. And so I will start covering these beginning next Thursday of next week. So today is Thursday, you're getting the Rogue. Tuesday, you will be getting the Wizard. And then I will begin going through the 7 subclasses that are in this book, and then wrap it all up with covering character classes. And like I said, races have already been covered. And then I'll go into some other aspect of Castles and Crusades to continue to just focus on this awesome tabletop role playing game, one that I hope continues to get more and more exposure as we go forward. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to actually running it with a new campaign that I'm looking to begin in uh, in September, October. I'm currently playing in a Castles and Crusades uh, campaign every other Wednesday night. So we just had our second session last night. I'm playing a cleric, and a lot of fun. I'm second level cleric playing in a campaign that I stepped into um, that had already been running for about 10 sessions or so. So hopefully in a couple of sessions, I'll hit third level and see what unfolds for that character as well. So without further ado, let's start taking a look at the rogue in Castles and Crusades. Okay, and of course I didn't have this set up all the way. Let me expand. So, Rogue is a dexterity based class. Ancient cities with high towers and crumbling walls, sprawling towns along coastal highways, villages, castles, and hamlets all have one thing in common. They all have rogues in their environs. Their names vary: thieves, rapscallions, cutpurses, footpads, confidence men, fences, burglars, sharpers, pickpockets, or highwaymen. Their methods vary as widely as their names, but their goal and their theme of their lives are constant. Rogues steal from others. They gather ill gotten goods for their own pleasure or needs and care not a whit for payment or compensation of those they take from. Rogues make their living in the shadows through stealth, deceit, thievery, or at times in service to some greater purpose known only to themselves. Rogues are simply the ultimate thieves. The archetypical ne'er do wells, rogues can be scions of the wealthiest families or simple street urchins. Some make their living by burglary, robbing wealthy merchants and pilfering the goods of many a palace. Others pick the pockets of unwary, from the simple traveler to the noble lord. Still others find their skills best suited to plundering dungeons, unraveling riddles in dark caves, and stealing treasure from forgotten places, and avoiding the laws and lawmen of the more civilized areas of the world. To perform their many acts of daring, rogues manage on a routine basis. They must be exceedingly dexterous. Rogues must be nimble of hand and foot. They must be quick of wit and mind. When these traits are perfectly combined into a seamless coordination of mental acumen and hand eye coordination, the rogue becomes a foe to be feared and friend never to be trusted. It is true that there is no honor among these rogues. Every valuable is a potential source of income, and every circumstance an excitement to misdeeds. Enticement to misdeed. They are driven by an anarchic soul and the outcast disdain for common ethics, where few laws are considered sacred and no oath is made that is not to be broken. Their only brotherhood is that of their confederations and guilds of like minded thieves who are as loyal to one another as they are to anything else. These guilds provide protection and organized rackets, but have little more staying power than the strength of their leadership to manage an unruly and rebellious membership. There are the rare exceptions to this generally dispiriting lot. There are burglars who steal only from wealthy and evil overlords, rob dragon hoards, or pilfer the treasuries of malicious and cruel tyrants. However, they too are driven by the same forces that inspire other rogues, for it takes a wily and willful individual to crawl down dark, forbidding corridors and face down dragons for a peek at their hoards. Rogues try to avoid combat as much as possible. Though not cowardly, they simply find the phrase better to live and fight another day more meaningful and applicable than anything to do with honor, pride, or recognition of their martial prowess. Furthermore, one might actually die in combat, and that has little value to anyone, especially to a rogue in question. As such, their weapons are generally of the smaller variety and not very impressive, being knives, daggers, saps, and such, or those that can be used from a great distance, such as bows, slings, and darts. Rogues have little regard for shields and armor, as these hinder movement and make even simple tasks difficult. And since rogues avoid combat as much as possible, armor becomes a useless accoutrement in most cases, and in a city attracts more attention than most rogues desire. So their abilities. They're special. Rogues favor light armor as it allows them to better apply their stealth abilities. Rogues may wear leather armor, a leather coat, or padded armor, and can employ small shields without any penalty to the use of their abilities. They may wear leather helmets. A rogue may wear any other type of armor, but the character may suffer a penalty when using class abilities and wearing these armors, as noted in the ability descriptions. A penalty is equal to -1 for each point above armor class 12 that an armor confers. Restricted helmets and shields cause the rogue to suffer -1 penalty to all abilities. All penalties are cumulative. So, for example, a rogue wearing chainmail, which confers a 15 armor class, suffers a -3 penalty to all ability checks. The rogue using a large shield suffers -4 ability to all ability checks. If a rogue used a Metal Gear helmet as well, the total penalty would be -5. All right, and so these would combine up, right? So they stack. Wearing chainmail, a shield, and a helmet would give them a total of a -8 penalty to all of their skill checks. Back attack. A rogue normally avoids face to face combat if possible, preferring instead to use stealth to catch an opponent unaware. The rogue A rogue able to attack an opponent from the rear who is unaware of the rogue's presence gains a bonus to hit and to damage. To catch an opponent unaware, a rogue must make a successful move silently check to sneak up behind the foe or make a successful hide check while behind the opponent. A rogue that succeeds in one or the other of these can make a back attack at +4 to hit. A successful hit inflicts double the normal damage. When making a back attack, a rogue must use a close quarters melee weapon. This weapon must be shorter than the character's arm. A rogue can only use the attack on creatures with a discernible back. The rogue must be able to see the target well enough to pick out a vital spot and then must be able to reach it. As a rogue gains experience, the damage inflicted increases. At 5th level, a back attack deals triple damage, and at 9th level, the back attack inflicts quadruple damage. A back attack cannot be combined with the sneak attack ability, which I'll get to later. Wearing armor not on the rogue armor list affects this ability. All right, so it doesn't eliminate it, but it does affect it. Can't. Rogues use street language known only to those in the trade called can't. All right. Climbing. This extraordinary ability allows a rogue to climb up, down, or across a slope, wall, steep incline, even a ceiling with handholds, or unusually angled natural or man-made slope, or incline that others would find impossible to climb. When doing so, the rogue moves at one half the character's normal speed. A failed climb check means that the character makes no progress. A check that fails by 5 or more means the character falls from the currently attained height and must suffer falling damage. Rogues cannot carry anything in their hands while climbing. When climbing typical natural slopes and man-made inclines, such as cliff faces or steep steps, rogues does not need to make an attribute check to climb the surface. Wearing armor not on the rogue armor list will affect this ability. Rogues cannot carry anything when climbing typical natural slopes. I'm just rereading this to get the idea of it. When climbing typical natural slopes and man-made inclines such as cliff faces or steep steps, a rogue does not need to make an attribute check to climb the surface. Oh, that's very interesting. All right, so, well, steep steps, they don't have to make a roll. That makes sense to me. I'm not quite sure about this cliff faces, man-made inclines, and natural slopes, such as, I guess a slope is not really a climb. It's more of a, just an incline. Deciphering script, which is intelligence based. This ability allows the rogue to decipher writing in an unfamiliar language, a message written in an incomplete or archaic form of the message written in code. If the check succeeds, the character understands the general content of the piece of writing. It takes 2d8 minutes to decipher each page of a script. The attempt may be made only once per writing. All right, so if they fail it, they can't read anything beyond that. 2 to 8 minutes is, quite a long time for them to sit there and reading through something. Rogue may use this ability to decipher arcane script if the successful check is made at a penalty of -10. If successful, he can read a spell but not cast a spell. The ability may not be used to decipher divine scrolls. I think I'm about to get a delivery, so might have to take a break and just pause the recording. Hide, dexterity. This is pretty self-explanatory, right? So if you're familiar at all with fantasy role-playing games and rogues, so hiding is a dexterity-based at more than one half or up to full speed. So if they're hiding and they're moving at one half to up to full speed, the character suffers a -5 penalty to the check to remain hidden. It's practically impossible, -20 penalty to hide when running or charging. All right. If the character is being observed, even casually, they cannot hide. This is something that is repeated very often in Castles and Crusades. You cannot just all of a sudden magically hide if someone was aware that you were in that area and even casually observing you. You have to create some kind of a distraction to take their view completely away from even your general area in order for you to attempt to then hide at some point. Yeah, so I really like the fact that Castles and Crusades keeps on bringing this up and keeps it as a reminder for the castle keeper to keep the players in check when they're trying to, just like, well, I'm going to hide. And it was like, well, they knew you were there 2 seconds ago. They knew the general area that you're in. Without a distraction, you can't hide. They're looking for you. Rogues cannot hide and move silently at the same time until they reach third level. At this level and beyond, a rogue can attempt both, but must make a successful conceal and move silent check at -5. In this case, movement is reduced to 1/4 the normal movement rate. Wearing armor not on the rogue armor's list affects this ability, so it's going to give those minuses like I mentioned earlier. Listen is a wisdom check. Rogues can use this ability to listen intently and hear noises that others might not detect. Let's see how far it goes. Success indicates that the rogue can hear soft sounds like a whisper or a cat stalking while outside or in the open up to a range of 30 feet. It also indicates success if the rogue is listening for sounds on the other side of a door, but the rogue must be adjacent to the door. However, exactly what is heard is up to the castle keeper's discretion, as each case is unique. If listening through a stone wall, the rogue suffers a -10. For other materials, varying the penalty as appropriate. All right. The ability is affected by wearing a metal or large helmet. Moving silently is dexterity based. This ability allows a rogue to move so silently that others cannot hear the movement. The rogue can use this ability both indoors and outdoors. A rogue can move up to 1/2 their character's normal speed at no penalty. At more than half up to the character's full speed, the character suffers a -5, and it is practically impossible, again a -20, to move silently while running or charging. To move silently and hide, see the hide ability. Wearing armor not on the rogue armor list affects this ability. Opening locks is dexterity based. A rogue can use this ability to open any sort of mechanical lock that would normally require a key to open. The successful check indicates the lock has been opened. The ability requires the use of a set of rogue's tools, including picks, blank keys, wires, or other appropriate tools. The rogue may only make one attempt per lock. If the attempt fails, the rogue cannot try to open the same lock again until gaining one more level, as it is beyond the current ability of the rogue to pick it. And this is affected by wearing metal or large gloves. Pickpocketing, a rogue can use this ability on a successful dexterity check to remove the contents of a pocket or pouch, or otherwise take something from a person without being noticed. Success may require the rogue to cut the purse or pouch from the target. A penalty to check is equal to the level or hit dice of the target victim. All right, so if you're trying to pick a pocket of somebody that is 2 hit die above the rogue, then the rogue is going to get a -2 based solely on that to begin with. This ability also allows the rogue to perform a sleight of hand maneuvers. A successful dexterity check indicates the rogue has hidden or moved an item in such a manner so that observers are not aware the item has been hidden. Such typical maneuvers are hiding a coin, sliding a card up a sleeve, performing the shell game, and so on and so forth. Wearing armor not in the rogue's list affects this ability. Traps is intelligence based, so rogue has 3 ways to use this ability: finding, disabling, or setting traps. Each use requires a separate attribute check, and each check may be made only once in a given circumstance. The player must also describe how the actions are being performed to use this ability. Again, really like the fact that you actually have to describe what you're attempting to do. To find a trap, a rogue spends time intently studying and searching the area to deduce possible trap locations. It takes one round to locate a trap in a specific area, such as a lock or a doorknob, and 1 minute to locate a trap in a 10 by 10 foot area. A successful check indicates the rogue finds one trap. If any are present, the trap discovered is the simplest or the most obvious trap in the area, and so on. They go through all the additional information. Uh, Traps have a level, um, so you can get pluses or minuses based on the level of the trap, the difficulty of the trap. Setting a trap or resetting a previously disabled trap, a rogue must make a successful traps check. If the rogue is resetting the trap that was previously disabled, the rogue gains a +5. All right, I am going to have to take a slight break here, so I am going to pause this and be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that little break. You probably barely noticed it. So here we go. To set a trap or to reset a previously disabled trap, a rogue must make a successful traps check. If the rogue is resetting a trap that was previously disabled, the rogue gains a +5 bonus to the check. The amount of time required to set or reset traps depends on the complexity of the trap, typically taking 1d4 rounds. Locating traps is not affected by armor worn. However, disabling and setting traps is affected by wearing armor not on the armor list. Okay. At level 4, a rogue has learned to adapt back attacks skills to more general situations. When an opponent or victim is aware of a rogue but unsuspecting of an attack, a rogue can use the sneak attack ability. For example, a rogue could be having a conversation with a potential victim while hiding a poisoned stiletto up his sleeve, intending to strike once a piece of vital information is learned. Or a rogue could be perched in the shadows of a tree, waiting for the perfect opportunity to fire a crossbow. Unlike the back attack, sneak attack situations do not necessarily require previously successful hide or move silently check, although the castle keeper could require success in one or both depending upon the circumstances if necessary. The opponent is not allowed to roll for initiative until the round following the attack. A rogue making a sneak attack gains a +2 bonus to hit and a +4 bonus to damage. Ranged weapons can be used for sneak attacks if the target is within 30 feet. A rogue cannot aim with deadly accuracy from beyond that range. A sneak attack cannot be combined with a back attack. Wearing armor not on the rogue list affects this ability. And so now we finally get to the class stats. So their prime attribute is dexterity. Their hit die is a 6, right? So that's one of the lower hit die that we've come across so far. Their alignment is any. Their weapons list is still quite extensive, but you'll notice that there's nothing very heavy, two-handed, like battle axes or anything like that. Excuse me. Armor, basically just the three, right? Leather armor, leather coat, and padded armor. Otherwise, they have minuses to all of their abilities. As you can see here, they're basic to hit. There were 0 at 1, which most classes are, except for fighters. And then a 2, 3, and 4, they're at a +1. A 5, 6, and 7, they finally go to a +2, and 8 through 10 is +3, and 11 to 12 is a +4. So this is not a martial class by design. All right, and now I will come back over here. So I'm really anxious to, once I start digging into the subclasses that are in the Adventurer's Backpack, I'm really going to, when I get to, Arcane Thief and I get to Thief itself, I'm going to compare Rogue versus Thief because I'm really curious to see how they're going to differ, and I want to be able to show that to you in a side by side, presentation. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing how Castles and Crusades handles the Arcane Thief, which is going to be fairly soon, actually, because it's arcane. It starts with the A's, and so they are in alphabetical order. So that'll be great to see that within the next probably 2 weeks or so. The rogue slash the thief class has always been my favorite class to play in Dungeons and Dragons. Some of my more memorable characters were thieves. Very early on, I played a thief who epitomized, you know, untrustworthy. It was the first time that I played a female character. On top of that, so I was playing a female, a half elf female thief, and she was definitely chaotic evil. Even though initially she wasn't supposed to be, but as I was role playing her and after several adventures, it became very, very clear that her greed was always right there. And that was also the first character where I engaged in player versus player action, and not even directly. She was certainly of that bent not to get into direct physical confrontation unless she absolutely had to. But she basically set up one of the other party members, um, and locked him in a space where he would get killed because she was desirous of some of the magic items that he was carrying, and so once once it came time for burying him, she foot the bill to bury him in a mausoleum type burial thing. That way, she would have easy access because he was buried with all of his belongings, and so she had easy access. So she paid about 1,000 gold pieces to build this thing for him to be buried in, and then she later on went there and snatched his, plus whatever it was, a ring of protection, a magic sword, some other valuable things. I think it was like a total of like 3,500 gold pieces worth of stuff that she secretly coveted, and that was an arrangement that I made with the dungeon master, our first dungeon master, and the other player never didn't know about that until years later. We finally told him, hey, by the way, that character. Now she eventually died because we played a pretty brutal thing, and I, to tell you the truth, I forget under what circumstances she died. What adventure it could have been? The It could have been the Lizard King, the Vampire Lizard King adventure that she died in. I just don't remember. It's going back. She was a character that I played with when I was like 11 years old. So she was like maybe my second character in D&D before I moved on to my halfling thief, and then eventually a thief acrobat that I played for nearly 10 years following that, and he was my main character all the way through. So rogues have always been my favorite class to play, or thieves. I always called them thieves because I always made them old school. And so we will see how the thief compares in the adventurer's backpack for Castles and Crusades, and see if there's a tonal difference between the two. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, like it, leave your comments in there. If you're playing a Castles and Crusades Rogue, I'd love to hear some of your stories, so please feel free to leave that in there. And just I will continue to do this series of videos focusing on Castles and Crusades for as long as people keep on asking them. I know I'm getting a lot of comments in the comments sections for these videos, and people just happy to see them and happy to see this game system highlighted, and I am all too happy to continue to do so. So as always, enjoy the rest of your week. I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon, and perhaps at a local convention. As I've said in my previous video, I can almost guarantee that one of the game systems that I run at my next convention is going to be Castles and Crusades. And and then the other two I haven't decided on yet, or I'm kind of back and forth between several. But Castles and Crusades, without a doubt, is going to be one of the game systems that I look to showcase at my next convention, which will probably be in September, October. So looking forward to it. You all have a great day. Thanks for stopping in, and I will see you in. I'll see you next Tuesday for Wizard, and then next Thursday for the first character class, subclass. Let's see, and it is going to be the Arcane Thief. So, like I said, I knew it was in the A's, so it'll be the next one coming up. So, have a great day and take care.